There are growing concerns that veteran guard Bria Hartley intentionally took out Sophie Cunningham, who's out for the rest of the season with a torn MCL. First off, look at this play. Bria Hartley clips Sophie, sends her down, and then she smiles? That's what set everybody off. If this was just a tough basketball play, fine, but the fact that she smiled after, it seems intentional. But let's be real, this isn't the first time Bria's been in the middle of some drama. She's been in fights before, she has that reputation, and she even liked a post celebrating her being that player. And now there are fans that are calling for her to get kicked out of the league. That's how serious people are taking this. Now I want to hear from you guys. Was this intentional or just a rough basketball play?
The WNBA has managed to shock fans once again, and honestly, not in a good way. Sophie Cunningham just dropped a bombshell, something absolutely jaw-dropping that puts Lexie Hull right in the danger zone. She's calling her the next target, right after Caitlin Clark and Sophie herself. It feels like this group, the one fans are calling the Tres Leches crew, is literally falling apart, one by one. So, is this just some incredibly bad luck, or are we looking at something way more sinister here?
Murphy's Law is once again in full effect for the Indiana Fever as Sophie Cunningham is ruled out for the rest of the season. So, what does this mean? They signed a new guard.
Okay, so here's where it gets wild. Sophie Cunningham, who is supposed to be a major spark for the Indiana Fever this season, is now officially out. Her MCL is torn, she's done for the year, and honestly, that's depressing enough on its own. But hold up, it's what she said next that has everyone sitting straight up in their chairs. Because Sophie is literally hinting that Lexi Hull, her own teammate, might be the next player to fall victim to what fans are now calling the WNBA assault era. Now let's quickly rewind, right? Remember Caitlin Clark? The league's so-called golden goose? She's already had her fair share of suspiciously aggressive hits. Some looked like basketball gone wrong, but others, fans were totally convinced there was more to those. Then comes Sophie Cunningham, the team's heart and hustle player. She gets into what looks like a routine collision with Bria Hartley. But get this, a photo surfaces. Hartley is literally smiling while Sophie is on the floor, clutching her knee in agony. Fans immediately screamed, that was intentional, and honestly, can you even blame them? It only got worse when Sophie confirmed it was an MCL tear, needing surgery. Her season, just gone. Like that.
There are growing concerns that veteran guard Bria Hartley intentionally took out Sophie Cunningham, who's out for the rest of the season with a torn MCL. First off, look at this play. Bria Hartley clips Sophie, sends her down, and then she smiles? That's what set everybody off. If this was just a tough basketball play, fine, but the fact that she smiled after, it seems intentional. But let's be real, this isn't the first time Bria's been in the middle of some drama. She's been in fights before, she has that reputation, and she even liked a post celebrating her being that player. And now there are fans that are calling for her to get kicked out of the league. That's how serious people are taking this. Now I want to hear from you guys. Was this intentional or just a rough basketball play?
And here's where things get really messy. Sophie herself actually tried play peacemaker on her podcast, saying Bria Hartley is her friend, and she truly doesn't think it was done on purpose.
No, I don't, because I know Bria and I'm actually really good friends with Bria, and I have been waiting to get on the pod and so we could talk about this because I did want to tweet it out, but I don't think that there was no ill intent. I think it was a basketball play. I was just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. She fell. Like, there's no way that she would go in there and potentially try to hurt me. And so I had nothing but love for Bria. And I even told my mom, because she tweeted something. I was like, no, Mom, I get it. But I promise you that I was like, Bria and I are super cool. And she would never try to hurt me, because there are some girls that I think might, but she wouldn't do that. And so I have nothing but love. And so I hope people stop giving Bria some heat, because I don't think she meant to do that at all. And I think that smile, it wasn't it was like,
look, Sophie tried to shrug it off, saying it was just one of those things. But let's be real, players always downplay stuff like this to avoid major league drama, or worse, heavy fines. And fans, they're just not buying it. That photo of Bria Hartley standing there smiling after Sophie went down is absolutely burned into everyone's minds. Social media isn't letting that go, not one bit. Now let's fast forward to Sophie's chilling comments about Lexie Hull. She basically flat out warned that Lexie could be the next target in what's becoming a truly dangerous pattern. So, if you're keeping score at home, that's Caitlin Clark first, then Sophie Cunningham, and now, potentially, Lexie Hull. All part of the same circle, all Indiana Fever players, and all suspiciously ending up on the chopping block. This is exactly why fans started calling them the Tres Leches group. First Caitlin, then Sophie, and now maybe Lexie. Coincidence? Honestly, people aren't so sure anymore. And think about the psychology behind this. The Fever already have Caitlin Clark sidelined with injuries, now Sophie's out. If Lexie Hull goes down too, this isn't just about bad injuries anymore, is it? It starts to look like a coordinated effort to literally kneecap, and no pun intended there, the Fever's entire future. The WNBA, of course, will try to act like everything's totally fine. They'll just call it the physicality of the game. But at what point does raw physicality just become straight-up targeted destruction?
Good news, but the Indiana Fever have announced that Sophie Cunningham will be out for the rest of the season. Just to give a little recap about what happened, basically the Indiana Fever were playing the Connecticut Sun and Bria Hartley. Not shocking that it was Bria Hartley. Bria Hartley is involved in many messes in the WNBA, including recently getting ejected from the Chicago Sky game for getting into it with Ariel Atkins after pushing Becca Allen to the ground. She got into it with Rickea Jackson from the Sparks. She yanked Angel Reese's hair, and I know that there's another one that I'm missing.
Honestly, fans are absolutely outraged, and rightfully so. This isn't just about one bad fall anymore. This is about a whole string of suspicious accidents happening to the exact same small group of players. And Sophie Cunningham just poured gasoline on that fire by directly hinting that Lexie Hull better seriously watch her back. Let's not forget, Sophie herself addressed the hit she took. She basically admitted that fans weren't wrong to think something shady was going on, but then she tried to soften it by defending Bria Hartley as a friend. But sorry, Sophie, fans don't forget smiles like that. That clip doesn't lie, and neither does the undeniable pattern we're seeing. And here's the kicker. While Sophie tries to be diplomatic, fans know exactly how this league operates. They've seen Caitlin Clark repeatedly shoved, tripped, and hacked, basically treated like some rookie punching bag. Even though, just a reminder, she's not a rookie anymore. This is her second year as a pro, and she's still being treated worse than NBA rookies who at least get some basic respect.
So the Indiana Fever did report tonight that Sophie Cunningham will be out for the remainder of the season with a knee injury. Now, initially, the Indiana Fever didn't even report what the knee injury was. They just said that it would be season ending. However, Alex Filippo, she reported that Sophie Cunningham did tear her MCL and that she would be out for the rest of the season.
And now, Sophie's out with a torn MCL, and suddenly, Lexi Hull's name is being whispered everywhere as the next one headed for the injury list. Folks, that's not paranoia anymore. That's a crystal clear, disturbing trend.
This injury is such a huge blow for the Indiana Fever. Now they have Sophie out, Sid Colson out, Ari McDonald out, Caitlin Clark out. And I speculated this in my last video. I was like, I wonder if Sophie is actually out for the rest of the season, if this hurts our chances of seeing Caitlin Clark back on the floor this season for the Indiana Fever. And this is the last thing that I'll say about that podcast interview. As Sophie did mention, she talked about Caitlin Clark briefly and her recovery, and she basically just said, like, it is a day-to-day thing. Caitlin doesn't even know when she will be back. So she didn't really give any more information than that, but I think a lot of fans are speculating, will Caitlin Clark be back? Because Sophie is now out for the season, will the Indiana Fever risk it by bringing Caitlin Clark back? If Sophie is out, do the Fever even have a chance in the playoffs? Why would you bring Caitlin Clark back? Should you bring Caitlin Clark back? Will she be practicing this week? They have a tough stretch of games. Are they going to bring her back against a team like the Minnesota Lynx? We just don't know. And I, like I've said in the past few videos, I don't think Caitlin Clark is coming back.
Okay, let me ask you this. When was the last time you saw this kind of absolutely bizarre sequence of events in men's basketball? In the NBA, if a star gets hit too hard, even once, the league is all over it. Refs are throwing players out, massive fines are handed down, the commissioner himself might even make a statement. But in the WNBA, apparently, smiling while someone writhes in pain is just business as usual. And this isn't just about players being tough. These are literally career-altering injuries. Sophie is going into surgery. Caitlyn's season has already been completely disrupted. And if Lexie Hull gets targeted next, what is even left of the Fever? You simply cannot build a future if all your key building blocks are being ripped apart, one by one. Fans are screaming sabotage, and honestly, you can't even argue with them at this point. But here's where it gets even worse, the WNBA's reaction. Or should I say, their shocking lack of reaction. They're treating these incidents like minor inconveniences, not like the serious threats they are to their own product. Think about it, Caitlin Clark brings in more viewership than literally half the league combined. Sophie Cunningham is a fan favorite, total personality, and Lexi Hull has been holding her own. If you lose them all, you're not just hurting the Fever, you're cutting deep into the league's entire marketability. And yet, silence. No fines, no suspensions, just a big shrug. Fans online are connecting the dots faster than the league office ever will. They're calling this a clear pattern, and Sophie Cunningham's comment that Lexi Hull could be next, that just adds undeniable legitimacy to what fans already believed. This isn't an accident anymore. This is a spotlight on the ugly, ugly side of the league that nobody in the WNBA front office wants to talk about. And you want to know what's really suspicious? Bria Hartley's response, or should I say, her complete lack of one. No apology, no visible remorse, just that one haunting image of her smirking as Sophie holds her knee. That's what fans can't shake, because it looked less like regret and more like satisfaction. And if that's the vibe, then Sophie's warning about Lexi Hull being next isn't just speculation. It's a genuine, terrifying concern. Now here's where the whole Tres Leches idea absolutely blows up. Fans didn't just come up with that nickname for fun. It's because Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexi Hull have been moving together like a tight trio this season. They're teammates, they're friends, and they've been at the center of almost every big Fever moment. And funny enough, or maybe not so funny, those are the exact players that seem to keep ending up in danger. Caitlin's been shoved around since day one. She takes elbows, gets tripped, and somehow the refs let half of it slide. Sophie, known for her energy and hustle, suddenly she's the one tearing an MCL. And now Sophie herself points the finger directly toward Lexi Hull as next up on the hit list. Do you see the trend? Because fans sure do. The WNBA wants people to believe this is just physical basketball. But the problem is, when the same circle of players gets knocked around again and again, fans stop believing in coincidence. They start believing in straight-up targets. And Lexi Hull might as well have a bullseye on her jersey now, all thanks to Sophie's chilling word. Let me break this down even more. Caitlin Clark isn't just any player. She's literally the money machine for this league. Her jersey sales, her TV ratings, her social media engagement, they're all breaking records. Without Caitlin, the WNBA doesn't even come close to the buzz it has right now. And yet somehow the league has allowed her to become a punching bag. Then you have Sophie Cunningham, charismatic, marketable, big personality that fans connect with. She gets taken out with an MCL tear. Lexi Hull, she's the quiet but steady part of the trio. If she goes down next, fans are gonna flat out accuse the league of destroying its own product. And don't get it twisted, the NBA would never let this happen. If LeBron James, Steph Curry, or Luka Doncic were getting targeted like Caitlin Clark, it'd be headline news everywhere. There'd be league investigations, rule changes, and punishments handed out like candy. In the WNBA, it's almost like they shrug and say, well, that's basketball. Sorry, no, that's pure negligence. Now let's go back to Bria Hartley for a sec. That smirk, that smile, whatever you want to call it, has become the absolute face of this controversy. Fans looked at that photo of Sophie on the floor holding her knee and Bria standing there grinning, and it instantly told the whole story. You can argue bad timing, you can argue misunderstood moment, but the image is what people remember. And Sophie's attempt to defend Bria, that only added more suspicion. It almost felt like she was forced to downplay it, like she didn't want to stir the pot. But in doing so, she confirmed that players know how dangerous things have gotten. And that's what makes her warning about Lexi Hull so chilling. Because if Sophie, the one who just got hurt, is basically saying, hey, Lexi might be next, then what does that tell you? It tells you the players themselves see the pattern too. They just can't say it outright, because the league doesn't like whistleblowers. Meanwhile, fans are making the noise that the league refuses to make. They're calling for suspensions. They're calling for accountability. Some are even saying Caitlin Clark should get independent medical evaluations outside of the Fever staff because there's simply no trust left in that system. When your own fan base doesn't trust your doctors, your referees, or your media, you've got a major crisis on your hands. And that's exactly where the WNBA is right now. Let's also not ignore the bigger elephant in the room: jealousy. Caitlin Clark's fame didn't just rise, it absolutely skyrocketed. And in a league where veterans feel overlooked and underpaid, some players have made no secret about not liking the attention she gets. Sophie, by association, became part of that spotlight. And Lexie Hull, while not a headline name herself, has been standing shoulder to shoulder with them. So if you're a jealous rival looking to make a statement, that trio is your prime target. And that's exactly why fans believe Lexi could be next. And look, nobody's saying the WNBA needs to be a no-contact league. Basketball is physical. Injuries happen, but there's a huge difference between natural contact and what looks like targeted takedowns. Caitlin being shoved when she's nowhere near the ball, that's not basketball. Sophie's knee twisting while her opponent smirks, that's not basketball either. And if Lexie Hull finds herself on the floor next, fans aren't going to accept just bad luck as an excuse anymore. The league loves to promote toughness. They love the idea of showing the women's game as gritty and competitive. But toughness doesn't mean negligent. Toughness doesn't mean ignoring when stars get hammered game after game. And toughness definitely doesn't mean smiling at someone else's pain. If that's what the WNBA thinks toughness is, then no wonder fans are outraged. Now here's where this gets even more suspicious. Notice how the media around Indiana is handling this. Or should I say, not handling it. Like Scott Agnes, fans are openly calling him out for running cover for the Fever front office, acting like the timeline of Caitlin's injury is crystal clear when the footage suggests otherwise, acting like Sophie's injury is just bad timing when fans saw what happened with their own eyes. That's why fans are losing faith. When the media becomes part of the spin machine instead of actually holding teams accountable, you don't just lose credibility, you lose your audience. And that's the real danger here. Not just to the Fever, not just to Lexie Hull, but to the WNBA itself. Fans are the ones keeping this league alive. And fans aren't stupid. They see the patterns, they see the favoritism, they see the blatant lack of transparency. And when Sophie Cunningham basically says, Lexie Hull could be next, it's confirmation of what they already suspected, that the Trez Lexie trio isn't just bonded by friendship or team chemistry. They're bonded by being targets in a league that flat out refuses to protect them.